Hey guys, tonight we descend into something ancient. You're walking alone now, through dust, through time, through stories told in whispers long before paper was invented. You don't know why you're here, not really. Maybe curiosity brought you, maybe something darker. But the path behind has crumbled, and the only way forward is through. The walls are carved in stone, worn smooth by generations of hands that trace the same symbols you're brushing your fingers over now. Greek letters, prayers, warnings. The air is thick and warm, scented with earth, old blood, and maybe something sweet like myrrh or rot. You hear it then, a low rumble beneath your feet, like something huge has just shifted, somewhere very close. You've entered the labyrinth. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Also, I'd love to know, where are you listening from? And what time is it right now? Drop it in the comments. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Your torch casts strange shadows, the tunnel narrows, then widens again, and as you move deeper into the mythic maze, something strange begins to happen. You hear voices, not loud, not clear, but constant. They're speaking Greek, words you don't know but somehow understand. Words like monster, sacrifice, divine punishment. A voice says these were not fairy tales, these were memories. The stories of Greek mythology weren't made to comfort children. They were made to explain why you should be afraid of the dark. And tonight, you're not just going to hear about the monsters, you're going to meet them. It starts with the labyrinth. You may know it already, built by Daedalus, commissioned by King Minos of Crete. The twisting underground prison designed to hold just one creature. But before we talk about what's in the center, you need to know this. The labyrinth was never just a maze. It was a mind, a trap not only of stone, but of perception. And once you enter it, it starts reshaping you. Even now, you feel your steps softening, your thoughts slowing. You're forgetting which way you came. That torchlight, does it flicker too fast, or is your heartbeat just getting louder? You pass faded murals carved into the walls, scenes of horror, men running, women weeping, hooves, horns, blood. Then something snorts in the dark ahead. Not human, not animal, something between. Historians still argue whether the labyrinth was ever real. Some say it was a metaphor for trauma, the inner beast we all carry. Others claim it was an elaborate dungeon beneath Knossos' palace, its blueprints long lost to the sea. But you don't have time to debate, because something's coming down the corridor, and it's huge. You run. You don't plan to. Your legs just decide for you. The walls blur. The turns come faster than your thoughts. You take a right, then another, then stop, panting, pressed against the wall. Nothing. Just your breath. Until another snort. Closer now. Then silence. Then hoof steps. Heavy. Deliberate. You want to call out, but your voice is gone. Instead, you remember. They said the Minotaur was born from lust and lies. Queen Pasiphae of Crete, cursed by Poseidon, fell in love with a bull. Yes, that kind of love. She had Daedalus construct a hollow wooden cow so she could consummate that love. And from that act, a child, born half human, half beast, a creature of rage, of shame, of hunger. They called him Asterion once, but they don't say that name anymore. Now they only say Minotaur. He was locked away, fed a diet of flesh, mostly criminals, sometimes slaves, and later Athenians sent as tribute after they lost a war. 7 boys, 7 girls, thrown into the labyrinth every 9 years. They were told to pray, but gods don't listen in the dark. Only he does. You round a corner and stop. There he is, Minotaur, 8 feet tall at least, shoulders like tree trunks, fur matted with old blood. His head turns slowly towards you, eyes glowing faintly in the firelight. You expect rage, roaring, a charge. Instead, he sighs, long, like he's tired of the chase, tired of being the monster. And for a moment, you see it, the sorrow, the cruelty not in the beast, but in the people who built his prison, fed him lies, fed him children, and called him evil for obeying hunger. The Minotaur tilts his head, steps back, and lets you pass, not because he's merciful, because you're not who he's waiting for. You pass him, you whisper thank you, he grunts and fades into shadow. The labyrinth begins to shift again behind you. The walls move, literally move. You stumble, crawl, and find another door, one made of bronze etched with snakes and wings. It opens not with a creak, but a hiss. Behind it, the next monster. And trust me, you know her, because even now you feel eyes watching you. But we'll talk about her next. Just don't look her in the eyes. You step through the bronze door and it groans shut behind you. Instantly, the air grows colder. The warmth of the labyrinth vanishes, replaced by a damp chill that wraps around your spine and whispers old warnings in forgotten tongues. You're no longer underground. You're somewhere older, more sacred, more cursed. The torch in your hand sputters, its light dimming to a flicker, but you can still see, somehow. The room ahead is wide, circular, with stone columns ringing its edges like teeth. The floor is cracked marble, the walls half collapsed, and everything is covered in ivy and dust. And statues, so many statues, but something's wrong. They're not posed like art, they're screaming. You recognize it in the twisted mouths, the outstretched hands, the rigid spines. They're frozen in fear, mid-run, mid-plea, mid-prayer. Then you see the one nearest you. It's a child, small, hands raised, face contorted, not carved, transformed. You know where you are now. You've entered her temple, the home of the monster with the deadliest gaze in history. You've met the Minotaur. But now, you meet Medusa. The myths say she was once beautiful, a priestess of Athena, known across Greece for her golden hair and radiant face. But she caught the attention of someone far less noble, Poseidon, and in one of the oldest, darkest corners of the temple, he forced himself upon her. Athena, goddess of wisdom, did not punish the god. She punished Medusa. She cursed her hair into writhing serpents. Her face became unbearable to look upon. Her eyes turned to weapons. One glance would freeze a man in place forever, turned to stone where he stood. And so Medusa fled, banished to a distant island, shunned by gods and men alike, forced to live among her own hatred and fear. You feel it now. This is her space. It breathes with silence. It hums with judgment. And somewhere, she's watching. Historians still argue whether Medusa was a literal monster, a metaphor for divine rage, or a cautionary tale wrapped in misogyny. Some say she symbolized the terrifying power of female rage. Others say she was simply the scapegoat for divine cruelty. But here, she is very real and very close. You don't move, you don't speak, you don't dare breathe loud enough for her to hear, because something slithers behind a column, not footsteps, a slide. You don't need to see her to feel her. She's circling, and now the statues seem more alive than ever, not just echoes of those who came before, but warnings, like they're trying to scream through stone, begging you not to look. You step carefully between them, eyes down, never above waist level. And then a whisper. It comes from every direction at once. Her voice is soft, not cruel, not monstrous. Wounded. They feared me first. You're just here to confirm it. You want to speak, to apologize, maybe. But what would you even say? That you're sorry she was turned into a legend of horror? That you're sorry we told her story as if she were the villain? You keep walking, your eyes locked on the floor, but the whisper doesn't stop. He used me. They cursed me. And you? You bring your torch to gaze upon the ruin you helped make. You pass another statue. It's kneeling, fingers curled around its own face, as if it looked at her on purpose. Then you see something, a fragment of bronze on the floor, old, bent, a mirror. You remember this part of the myth. Perseus, the so-called hero, approached Medusa not by looking directly at her, but by using his polished shield as a mirror. Cowardly, maybe, but it worked. He cut off her head and took it as a trophy, used it as a weapon, displayed her skull like a badge of glory. But now you wonder, what happened to her soul? Where did she go? What became of her spirit after her body fell? Because something is still here, and it's watching. You dare to raise the mirror shard just slightly, and you see her. She's not what you expected. Yes, the snakes are real, hissing, coiled, ever shifting. But her face? It's not monstrous, it's human, beautiful even, and filled with a grief deeper than the ocean. Tears streak her cheeks, though they never fall. And her eyes, those cursed, petrifying eyes, are closed. She's giving you a chance. You lower the mirror, say softly, "I'm sorry." She doesn't answer, but the snakes go still, and the whisper fades. You take one final step through the chamber and find the next doorway. It's open. It leads down. The air smells of smoke, of burning, of something massive. But before you leave, you glance once more toward Medusa. You don't see her, only hear a whisper, barely a breath. Don't let them turn you into a monster too. And then she's gone. The stairs descend sharply. You touch the walls. They're hot. The stone hums with pressure like something below is pulsing. The torch in your hand burns higher now, almost trembling, because down there, waiting in the mountain, is something older than Medusa, older than the Minotaur, older than the gods who cursed them both, something they feared, something they locked away beneath the earth, and he's starting to stir. You descend deeper. Each step pulls you further from the world above, past memory, past air, past light. The torch in your hand burns low now, as if even flame hesitates to follow you. The stairs twist and crumble beneath your feet, and the walls have begun to sweat heat. Not metaphorically, actual heat. A dense, thick breath from something alive beneath the stone. The silence is loud, not peaceful, charged, like something ancient is holding its breath, listening. The smell shifts from earth and dust to sulfur and scorched metal and blood, always blood. You wipe your forehead. The sweat smears like ash. You've reached the place beneath myth, the bottom of the world. And in the center of this cavern, curled like a sleeping god, is something too large to describe. Not a mountain, not a monster, something in between. You found Typhon. There are monsters in Greek myth. And then there's the origin of monsters. Typhon wasn't born from jealousy or divine punishment. He didn't rise from the sea or slip through shadows. He was forged, shaped by Gaia, Mother Earth herself, as revenge. Revenge against the Olympians for their war against the Titans, for tearing apart her first children and casting them into Tartarus. Typhon wasn't just another creature. He was the end, a towering giant with hundreds of dragon heads, each speaking in tongues no human could mimic. His eyes burned with fire, his hands stretched across islands, his wings blotted out the sun, and beneath it all, a voice that didn't roar, didn't whisper, a voice that simply commanded. The torchlight barely reaches the edges of him. You see a sliver of his face, scaled and cracked like volcanic glass, a curl of one arm coiled around a stone pillar thick as a ship mast. And just when you think he's asleep, he breathes. The sound alone knocks you back. Not a scream, not a growl, a wind, as if every cave, canyon, and crater on earth exhaled through this one living throat. Your knees buckle, and a thought enters your mind, not your own. It says, "Who walks in my ribs?" You try to run, but the air hardens, your lungs collapse under pressure, and the flame in your torch dies. Not flickers, not fades, just stops. You are plunged into pitch. The only light now comes from his eyes. Twin furnaces the size of city gates die opening slowly in the dark, and with them, memories not your own pour in. You see cities burning, gods hiding, mountains crumbling, not because you're imagining them, because he remembers. You see Zeus, not mighty and thunder wielding, but crawling, broken, stripped of his weapons and strength, his muscles torn by Typhon's claws, his thunderbolt smashed beneath feet wider than forests. And then, silence. Typhon's triumph, the moment the gods almost lost. Historians still argue whether the story was ever meant to end there, if the Greeks once believed the gods fell, only to edit the tale later, making Zeus the savior again. But down here, no edits, only the raw, original myth. Typhon won, even if only for a moment. You stagger forward, half crawling now. Your body is shaking, not from cold, but from too much truth. And just as you near what must be the base of his chest, where the ground itself rises in sync with his breathing, you hear another sound. Soft, slithering, a woman's voice, humming. You turn, and there she is, half hidden in the shadow, wrapped in serpents, with a gaze that cuts like silk across your skin. His mate, his queen, the mother of monsters, and somehow even more terrifying in her stillness. She doesn't attack, she doesn't speak, she simply watches and smiles. Curious, she says finally, her voice echoing like water dripping into a well. You can't tell if she's addressing you or Typhon. You manage to whisper, "Why am I here?" Her smile widens. "Because you believe you're only here to observe," she replies, "to witness. But monsters, they're not here for watching." She steps forward. Her feet don't touch the ground. Her tail glides across the floor with the grace of someone who's never needed to hurry. She circles you, not predatory. More like she's appraising you. You swallow hard and ask, "Are you going to kill me?" "No," she says. "That's Typhon's job." The cave begins to shake. You brace yourself. Typhon is moving now. Not fully waking, but testing. His limbs stretch across the cavern like bridges of molten iron. You see veins pulsing beneath his stone skin. You feel each beat in your bones. Then his eyes flare and your thoughts flicker. You see flashes of his children, Cerberus, the three-headed hound, gnashing at the gates of Hades, the Chimera vomiting fire across a battlefield, the Sphinx luring travelers with riddles before tearing out their hearts, the Hydra, its necks twisting in endless hunger, Scylla clinging to cliffs, grabbing sailors mid-scream. They weren't born from chaos, they were his legacy, and now, so are you. You stumble back, gasping. Why show me this? You ask. Echidna tilts her head. You came to meet monsters, she says, but you didn't ask why they exist. She raises her hand. Her fingers glow faintly with green fire. Because the gods need villains, she says. Because without us, they look like monsters too. The heat begins to fade. Typhon exhales again. But this time it's different. Less rage. More permission. A pathway opens behind you, a narrow bridge of obsidian leading up toward the surface. You don't wait, you run. Not out of fear, out of understanding. Because now you know, the gods told their stories, but the monsters lived them, and their memories burn brighter than Olympus. As you rise back toward the labyrinth, the walls feel different, warmer, like they're watching, whispering. You've met the Father, you've stood in the lungs of the Unmaker. And the next chamber, it rocks with the sound of waves crashing. You smell the sea, but not like the beach, like shipwrecks, like bones soaked in salt. And ahead of you, two sisters, one with mouths, one with hunger. And you're just passing through, if they let you. Salt coats your tongue before the wind even touches your face. The stone of the labyrinth softens beneath your feet, giving way to something damp, cold, and uneven, wet rocks, smoothed by centuries of tide and tragedy. You hear waves before you see them, not gentle lapping, but the full-throated crash of water against cliff. It's rhythmic, yes, but violent, like the sea is angry at its own shape. You step forward, and the walls disappear. The labyrinth opens into a narrow ledge, perched high above a black channel of churning ocean. Mist sprays your face. You feel the cold settle into your bones, slow and unforgiving. Far ahead you see it. The path continues, a razor-thin strip of rock suspended between great pillars rising from the sea. It's not a bridge, not really. It's the last dry space between two devourers, and now you remember the names. Scylla, the twin terrors of the narrow strait, the devourers of sailors, the reason ancient mariners prayed to die before making this crossing. You've reached the place where every choice is wrong, and you must choose anyway. The Greeks told of a channel so narrow, no ship could pass without drawing the wrath of one monster or the other. It wasn't myth to them, it was geography. They feared the Strait of Messina between Sicily and mainland Italy, where dangerous currents swirl to this day. But myth made it worse. Because here, the sea isn't just water, it's hunger, and it has two mouths. To your left, Charybdis. You can't see her, but you feel her. The sea swells and drops like a heartbeat, a monstrous breath in and out. Suddenly the water vanishes, dragged downward into a spinning black hole, and then explodes upward, vomiting brine and shattered wood into the air. She's not a creature you fight, she's a force. The myth says she was once a daughter of Poseidon, punished by Zeus for flooding too much land in her father's name. So Zeus chained her to the seafloor and cursed her to suck the sea down thrice a day. Now she does it out of instinct, or vengeance, or boredom. You don't know which is worse. You inch along the edge, trying not to watch as she inhales again. A full ship would vanish in seconds. A person wouldn't even scream in time. To your right, you hear something gurgle, not like water, like flesh. You turn your head and see the cliff wall move. First one shape, then two, then six heads, twisting out of the stone like fingers from clay. Each with snapping jaws, broken teeth, and milky eyes that track your every step. And she is closer than you thought. Scylla was once a beautiful nymph, until a jealous sorceress, maybe Circe, maybe Amphitrite, poisoned the water she bathed in. Her legs became snarling dogs. Her waist sprouted snapping heads. Her beauty twisted into a form even the gods pitied. But she was never killed, just placed here to feed. Now she hangs from the cliff, her long serpentine necks writhing like seaweed, each head as mindless and ravenous as the last. She doesn't roar, she doesn't hiss, she waits. You walk the ledge, frozen between chaos and cruelty. The wind howls. A head lunges. You duck. The stone cracks where your skull would have been. Behind you, the water sinks again. You know you won't survive both, so you pick a side. Most ancient sailors sailed closer to Scylla. Why? Because she only takes 6, 1 for each head. But Charybdis, she takes everything. A full ship, a full crew, gone in a single breath. The logic was brutal, but predictable. You accept it now. You walk nearer to the cliff face, and Scylla smells you. Her heads screech, foam dripping from their mouths. They're not smart, they don't stalk, they strike. All at once, you press flat against the rock, sliding sideways, ignoring the sharp stone cutting your palms. A head lunges, misses, another snaps. You duck, a third nearly catches your ankle, but you leap forward. You're not fast, just lucky. And she's getting angrier. The ledge narrows, and you feel it behind you. The water drops. That means Charybdis is swallowing again. You have seconds. Then, something shifts in your vision. Not the monsters, the rock. You see marks, symbols like scratchings from ancient fingernails. You realize you're not the first. You trace one with your finger. A name, faded, almost gone, but still here, still remembered. Odysseus, the greatest survivor of myth. He passed here. He lost men, but he lived, and so can you. If you don't stop. Scylla's heads shriek. They've had enough. You see 2 of them pulling back, ready to strike in tandem. Behind you, the ledge trembles. The sea drops further. You sprint. There's no other choice now. No caution, no cleverness, just motion, feet slamming stone, breath catching, teeth behind you. A whirlpool to your left, screaming with a voice deeper than thunder. You close your eyes and jump. The world freezes midair. You don't hit water or stone. You land on something solid, a new path. Dry. Safe, for now. The roar fades behind you, the wind stills. You don't ask how. You just breathe and keep walking. Because ahead of you, the air is warm again. Not from weather, from fire. You smell sulfur. You hear growling, but not from beasts, from something that breathes smoke and walks on 3 heads, the gatekeeper of the dead. And you're not dead yet, but you're walking towards someone who thinks you should be. Stone beneath your feet begins to change again. Rough, jagged cliffs give way to smooth basalt, cracked like ancient leather. It's warm now. Not the humid heat of the sea, but dry, heavy heat. The kind that settles into your clothes, crawls down your throat, and makes your skin prickle before you even know why. There's no sunlight here, but still everything glows, dimly, red, like embers that never quite died. The air smells of charcoal, bone, and fur. You look ahead, and there it is, a gate. Massive, jagged, ironbound, half sunk into the mountain itself. You can't tell if it was built or grown. It doesn't creak open. It doesn't invite you. It just waits. And in front of it, Cerberus. They call him the Hound of Hades, the watchdog of the underworld, the beast that guards the boundary between the living and the dead. You see 3 heads, each one larger than your entire body. Their eyes glow yellow and blink out of sync. One head sniffs the air, another growls low and deep, and the third stares directly at you, unmoving. You freeze. It's not just the size, it's the intent. Cerberus wasn't made to chase, he was made to... In the myths, Cerberus was the child of Typhon and Echidna. Yes, the same couple who gave birth to half the monsters you've met already. But Cerberus wasn't roaming the world, spreading chaos. He had a job. He guarded the gates of Hades. No one entered without permission. More importantly, no one left. And yet the gods tried. Heroes too. Heracles once came to capture him. Orpheus came to charm him. Aeneas came to plead with him. Each got past barely, but none without cost. Now it's your turn. And you didn't bring a sword or a lyre, just your voice. You step closer. The left head raises first, teeth exposed, nostrils twitching. The middle one follows, its growl turning into a thunderous rumble. The right head stays still, watching, waiting, calculating. You don't run, not because you're brave, but because you know running would be worse. Instead, you whisper, "Hey there, boy." Not a joke, not mockery, just honesty, because that's the strange truth of Cerberus. He's not evil, not even cruel. He's just doing his job. You move slowly, hands open, low to the ground, like you're approaching an animal on a leash with no leash. The left head barks. You freeze. The middle one snarls, saliva hitting the ground like drops of boiling oil. But the right head still doesn't move. It's watching your eyes. And then you remember something from deep in the stories, half forgotten. Cerberus can sense truth. It's not fear he smells, it's intention. Historians still argue whether Cerberus was meant to be a literal beast or a symbolic guardian of the human psyche. Some say he represents the three stages of death: body, soul, and shadow. Others claim he was a mythological interpretation of ancient funeral dogs trained to protect burial sites. But here, right now, he's not a metaphor. He's breathing. You take another step. The heads don't strike. You whisper again. I don't want to stay. I just want to pass. The right head blinks, then lowers, just slightly. You walk forward. Every muscle in your body is clenched, but you keep moving, one step, then another. You pass within inches of the beast. You hear the thunder of his breath, the heat of it, the growl in his chest like an oncoming earthquake. But he does not attack. He simply watches as you move past him. You're not sure if that was permission or pity, but you made it, and the gate opens, not with a groan, but with a whisper. Inside, it's darker than anything you've yet seen. This isn't the labyrinth anymore. It's the threshold of Hades. You walk forward. The path is paved in bones, not scattered. Skulls form columns. Femurs line the walls like bricks. The ceiling is not stone, but webbed sinew, dry and translucent like the wings of a dead god. And everywhere, silence, not quiet, absence. Even your own footsteps seem to vanish into the dark. Then suddenly light. From the far end of the corridor, a shape glows faintly. At first it looks like a flame, but it's not fire, it's memory. You pass shapes, not statues, not corpses, but people caught in a loop. A mother cradling a baby that isn't there. A man chasing a coin that rolls forever out of reach. A soldier polishing a broken sword. They don't speak, they don't blink, repeat. These are the forgotten, the shades who passed without songs or graves or names. This is what the underworld holds. Not pain, not hellfire, just eternal obscurity. And as you pass them, something tugs at your ankle. You look down. A hand, pale, bony, shaking. It's not trying to pull you down. It's reaching out for recognition. You meet its eyes and say, I see you. It lets go and you move on. Ahead, the path turns upward. The air shifts again. Cooler, fresher, not quite alive, but less dead. The gate behind you slams shut. Cerberus is gone, but something else lies ahead. Something that doesn't breathe flame or scream or chase. Something that gives birth to monsters and has more teeth than even the gods dared count. You're about to meet her, and she's been waiting a very long time. The upward slope narrows again, not by architecture, but by roots. They twist from the walls like veins, black, pulsing, and wet with something that doesn't look like water. You reach out to touch one. It recoils, not like a plant, but like a nervous system. The path has shifted again, less cavern, more womb. This is not a place built by hands or hollowed by time. It's grown, and now it's birthing something. The smell changes. No more sulfur or smoke. Now it's damp fur, rotten leaves, milk gone sour. The smell of the primordial. The air hums with low vibrations like you're inside the chest of something that's still deciding whether to swallow or spare you. You step forward and the darkness recedes, not with light but with eyes. Thousands of them. Blinking open in the walls, the ceiling, the roots underfoot, watching, judging, waiting. You've reached the lair of Echidna, but not the version you met near Typhon, not the shadow who whispered by his side. This is her core, the mother of all monsters, and you're here for the birth. She doesn't look like a queen or a beast. She looks like a mother in mid-contraction. Her lower half coils around a pool of black ichor that bubbles like tar and smells like lightning. Her upper body leans forward, barely human anymore. Thin arms, long claws, and a face that seems to flicker between a woman's and something with too many teeth. And from the pool, shapes rise, misshapen, moaning, new. You stand motionless, not from fear, from reverence. This is sacred, violently sacred. The myths rarely told this part, because it wasn't meant to be remembered. Echidna wasn't just the mate of Typhon. She wasn't just a mother in title. She was the source. Cerberus, the Hydra, the Chimera, the Sphinx, the Nemean lion, even the Gorgon sisters themselves. All her children. All born in places like this, in darkness, in grief, in spite. Historians still argue about Echidna. Was she meant to be a single figure, or a collection of fears? Some believe she represented the chaotic fertility of nature, the raw force that births both beauty and horror. Others say she was a cautionary tale, the ultimate warning of what happens when women become creators without limits. But none of them ever saw this twitching pool, these half-born shapes rising from the black, this pain, because Echidna does not scream. She sings. It's low, almost a hum, the sound of bone splitting, the sound of lullabies sung in extinct languages. And the newborn monsters, they cry back, not like babies, like species. Each sound is a claim of reality, a roar, a hiss, a howl, marking their existence in the world. You take a step forward, and Echidna notices. One of her eyes blinks at you, just one, but it's enough to stop your heart mid-beat. She doesn't speak, she shares. You feel the message in your skull, not your ears. Do you know what it means to create without love? You shake your head. She smiles. Not cruelly, more like sadly. It means no one thanks you, no one sings your name, only theirs. She gestures to the pool. Another creature rises, winged, horned, limping. Its eyes are human. You realize it's not just a monster, it's a memory. The monsters aren't random. They're not chaos. They're responses to wars, to betrayals, to broken pacts and divine injustice. Echidna doesn't birth monsters for power. She births them to remember. Each claw and fang and flame is a living act of protest. And you're witnessing history no scroll ever dared preserve. You kneel. Not because she asked, because you should. Echidna looks past you now, to something moving in the darkness. You hear it before you see it. A scraping, a groaning, a whisper that rises into language. Something is waking. Not a child, a guest. Another figure enters the lair, slender, silent, clad in bone-white robes, stitched with feathers, no eyes, only a mask of polished obsidian. It carries a bowl, and in it, something alive. Echidna nods. The visitor kneels by the pool and pours it in. The liquid is silver, laced with light. You realize it's divine blood, and it sizzles when it hits the pool. The monsters howl, the walls tremble, and from the center of the birthing pit rises a shape unlike any before. Tall, winged, masked, crowned with a halo of bones. You're not sure if it's a monster or a god. Maybe it's both. Maybe it's the last thing the Olympians ever feared. Echidna turns to you again, and this time her voice does enter your ears. It's low, tired, and eternal. Tell them I remember. Then she closes her eyes, and the lair dims. The pool goes still. The newborns retreat into the walls, and you are alone again, except for the path, which has reappeared behind you, dry, straight, lit with soft flame. You walk it in silence, your skin still buzzing from the memories, your mind echoing with her final words. Tell them I remember. Ahead, the scent of the sea again, but older this time. Not brine, not salt, but blood. And the crashing isn't waves, it's wings. Because you're about to meet someone who fell not once, but every night. A punishment with feathers. And a gaze worse than death. The harpies, winged agents of punishment. You're not sure how long you've been walking. Time thins down here. Your footsteps feel slow, like they're pressing through syrup instead of air. The space around you narrows, then expands, then narrows again, like you're walking through the throat of a living thing. It squeezes, it releases, it watches. And then you hear them. Not roars, not growls, but screams high-pitched. Human, almost. It starts as a single note in the distance, echoing like wind through broken glass. Then it splits, multiplies, crescendos. Layers of wailing voices spiraling above you into a sky you can't see. You don't know why, but your chest tightens. You recognize the sound, even if you've never heard it before. It's the sound of being exposed, of being seen, and not in a gentle, forgiving way, but in a way that names your worst self and demands you wear it like a crown. You've arrived at the home of the harpies. The chamber opens in a sudden sweep of air and stone. Your first instinct is to shield your face, not from sunlight, but from feathers. They're everywhere, strewn across the floor like molted confessions, clinging to broken columns and rusted chains. Some are white, some are black, most are gray, ash gray, regret gray. This isn't a lair, it's a courthouse. And above you, circling, perched, crawling, and twitching, are the judges. The harpies aren't what the movies tell you. They're not sexy bird women with glowy eyes and high heels made of talons. They're wounds. They're shame with wings. Their bodies are twisted, wiry things, leathery wings stretched too thin, clawed legs wrapped in rusted manacles, human-like torsos hunching forward as if burdened by invisible chains. Their faces? Some look like old women, some like withered children. Others shift mid-glance, cycling through expressions of grief, rage, ecstasy, and indifference. And they know you. The first one dives low, just enough for her scream to rake past your skin like a blade made of sound. You duck instinctively. Too late, your ears ring. You taste copper. You stagger. Another harpy swoops past. She doesn't hit you, but something falls from her claws, a scrap of parchment. You glance at it. Your name is written on it. And beneath that, a memory. Not just a memory, your memory. A bad one. One you thought was buried. You try to look away. You can't. It's sticking to your skin. You try to move forward, but the air is thick now, pressing in around you, like you're walking through old secrets. Because that's what this place is built from. Not stone, but shame. The Harpies first appear in the earliest Greek myths as the daughters of Thaumas and Electra, sisters of Iris, goddess of the rainbow. It's a cruel irony. Iris was the divine messenger of hope and light. The Harpies were the opposite. They were the bringers of divine punishment. They didn't kill you. They ruined you. They stole your food, your sanity, your dignity, whatever the gods decided you didn't deserve anymore. Some called them snatchers. Others said they were spirits of sudden death, plucking souls without warning. But here, they don't take. They force you to look. You reach the center of the chamber. A cracked pedestal rises from the floor. Something is chained to it. You approach. It's not a statue, it's a man, or what's left of him. He's curled inward, his body paper thin, his face sunken. Chains bind his wrists, ankles, and even his tongue. And above him, the harpies circle. They don't hurt him. They just whisper. Over and over, you should have stayed. You didn't speak up. She was crying and you turned away. You knew. You knew? The man trembles but never screams. You realize he can't. His punishment isn't torment. It's silence. He's been silenced by his own shame. And the harpies? They're just keeping it alive. One of them lands beside you. Her wings retract slowly like breath being drawn inward. She's smaller than the others, almost childlike, but her eyes are older than anything you've seen. She looks you over, not with curiosity, with certainty. You've come far, she rasps. You nod. She leans closer. You thought you came to see monsters, but we are not monsters. Another harpy lands beside her, taller, covered in scars. We are mirrors, she hisses. And just like that, they lift their hands, feathers peeling back to reveal glass. Dozens of little mirrors, each one reflecting not your face, but your failures. One shows you turning away from someone who needed help. Another shows a time you lied when truth would have cost you something small, but mattered to someone else. A third shows a moment you forgot, on purpose. A fourth, that shows you watching someone be hurt and doing nothing. You drop to your knees. It's not pain, it's weight. The harpies surround you now, not to hurt, to bear witness. You are seen, one whispers. You are known, another follows. You are accountable, a third finishes. Then they raise their claws. You flinch, but they don't strike. They touch your shoulders, gently, and the mirrors vanish. You may leave, they say in unison. You open your mouth to speak, but you stop, because nothing you say would matter more than what they just let you keep. The truth. You stand, not taller, but straighter. You walk forward. The harpies don't follow, but you know they're always watching. They always were. The corridor ahead is long and narrow. Feathers fall behind you. Some stick to your clothes. You don't brush them off. They're part of you now. You pass beneath an archway carved with words in a language older than death. And ahead of you, silk. Lots of it. The air changes again. Cooler, sticky. Threads brush your face. The scent of spiders. Not the kind that crawl. The kind that calculate and weave and wait. You're entering a domain where the future is tangled before it even happens. And she knows you're coming. You don't notice the silk at first. It's soft, weightless, so delicate it brushes past your arm like breath. But then you feel the second thread, then a third, then a dozen. And you stop, because now it's clear. You're in a web. It stretches in every direction, a net of fine silver lines suspended between pillars of bone and black stone. Some strands pulse, others hum. Some disappear into darkness and never come back out again. You brush one away. It sings, a tiny high-pitched vibration that runs up your wrist and into your spine. This isn't a trap, it's a signal. You've just announced yourself. And she's already heard you. You step forward carefully, not out of fear, well, not just fear, but because something about this place feels unwritten. like each footstep alters the space around you. And maybe it does, because here, everything is being woven. Not just silk, not just shadow, but fate. In Greek mythology, you've probably heard of the Moirai, the Fates, three sisters who spin, measure, and cut the thread of every life. But tonight, you're not meeting Clotho, Lachesis, or Atropos. You're meeting someone older, more personal. The spider underneath the loom, the one whose name the gods tried to forget. Her name is Arachne, and she's been weaving ever since she lost. The stories tell of a mortal woman, brilliant, proud, unstoppable with thread. Arachne's skill was so great that mortals whispered she must have been taught by Athena herself. Arachne didn't whisper, she shouted. She claimed no god had touched her skill, that she wove better than Athena ever could. So the goddess came down to test her, not with a duel, but a weaving contest. Arachne accepted and won. But what she wove wasn't just beautiful, it was dangerous. She depicted the gods' cruelties, Zeus's disguises, Apollo's betrayals, Poseidon's conquests, a flawless tapestry of divine shame. Athena saw it and tore it to shreds, then cursed Arachne to spin forever, not as a woman, but as a spider. You walk deeper into the web. The silk now glows faintly with threads of memory. You see stories in them, little vignettes like insects trapped in amber, a child turning away from her dying father, a soldier dropping his sword and running, a woman climbing the steps of a temple knowing it would cost her life. Each thread, a story someone thought they'd buried, but Arachne found it and wove it in. Historians still argue whether the myth of Arachne was a warning about pride or a secret form of resistance against the divine order. Was she a villain punished for hubris or a mortal who dared tell the truth? You don't know. You only know this. The air is vibrating now. Every strand sings, and the weaver is coming. You see her before you hear her, descending upside down, silent as starlight, legs folding in impossible ways. Her body is massive, easily the size of a cart, but elegant. Her lower half is spider, black and glossy with flecks of silver, but her upper half is still her, a woman, or the shadow of one. Eyes like molten thread, fingers ending in needles, hair like unraveling silk. She lands without a sound. Her many legs grip the wall. Her head turns toward you, not snapping or hissing, but curious, like a librarian meeting a very old book. You've walked far, she says. Her voice is low, calm, smooth as woven velvet. Do you know where you are? You shake your head. She laughs, not unkindly. You're in the archive, she says, the place beneath all places, where stories that weren't allowed to be told get remembered anyway. She turns to a wall of silk, gently brushes it with one hand. A thread lights up. You see your face, your fear, your footsteps through the labyrinth. You are being added, she whispers, right now. The walls pulse. A million threads light up for a second, then fade. You're not the first, she says, and you won't be the last. You step closer. There's no fear now, only awe. She begins to weave, and as she does, she speaks. Not with her voice, but with images, visions that flood your mind. You see ancient cities sinking under waves. You see kings begging monsters for mercy. You see a woman in chains who breaks them by telling her story over and over until even the gods can't ignore it. You realize Arachne doesn't weave punishment. She weaves proof that you were here, that you mattered, that you fought, even if you lost. Suddenly, the silk beneath your feet moves. It lifts you gently, carrying you across the web like a raft on a river of light. Arachne stays behind, still weaving, still remembering. Her voice returns one last time. You are part of the story now. And then she fades into the dark again. You land on solid ground. The web behind you vanishes in the blink of an eye, like it was never there, but it was. You feel a thin strand tied around your wrist. You touch it. It's warm and real and connected to something far bigger than you. Ahead, the air smells like metal, like blood. The wind howls in a new key, lower, sharper, angry. There are weapons here, and fire, and a mouth that doesn't bite or scream, but judges. You're entering a forge, not built by men, but by something that bleeds iron and breathes rage. The moment your feet touch the floor of this new passage, everything changes again. Gone is the silk, the echoing whispers of Arachne's domain. Gone is the delicate weaving of memory and fate. Instead, the ground beneath you rumbles like a beast's slow exhale, and the air is dense with pressure, thick, gritty, and metallic. It feels like you stepped into the heart of a mountain. Each breath you take scratches at your throat like dry iron filings. The walls around you shimmer with residual heat, and in the distance the rhythmic clang of metal on stone reverberates through the tunnels like a beating heart. But this isn't a heartbeat of life. It's the sound of something being forged or punished, or both. The path opens into a vast cavern, and you realize you're standing in a forge, but not one built by humans, not even by gods who still wear their crowns. This place is older, and deeper, and more broken. At the center of the cavern is a black anvil, easily twice your height. Chained to it is a massive hammer, its head cracked, its handle glowing like a brand. The walls are lined with tools, tongs the size of spears, cauldrons belching steam, chains made from melted down swords and regrown into something new. You aren't alone. You hear the dragging of a foot, a limp, a hiss of breath through clenched teeth. And then, from behind a pillar of molten bronze, steps a figure, tall, bent, one shoulder twisted slightly lower than the other, one leg dragging a little behind. A thick leather apron clings to his torso, scorched black at the edges. His hair is wild, half burned away, half matted with soot, and his eyes are burning, not with rage, but with focus so intense it feels like being stared at by the sun through a magnifying glass. He doesn't speak. He watches, judges, weighs you. Then, without a word, he turns back to the forge and begins to work. The clang of his hammer is not random. It echoes in a pattern. 2 strikes, a pause, 1 strike, a deeper thud. It's not just smithing. It's a language. And you realize you're not in a forge, you're in a courtroom, and the sentence is being written in fire and metal. You approach slowly. The heat is overwhelming now. The very air ripples like water. You can see the surface of the anvil glowing a dull red as he hammers the shape into form. You can't tell what he's making. A weapon? A chain? A mask? It keeps changing shape, as if it hasn't decided what it wants to be, or what you deserve. Then, without looking at you, he speaks. His voice is gravel ground into ash. You carry weight, he says, but not enough. You frown, unsure how to answer. He turns then slowly, and you see his face clearly. It's not monstrous, it's not divine. It's tired, scarred, and utterly human. He doesn't scowl. He studies, like a craftsman inspects a cracked piece of iron. Everyone wants to carry everything, he says, but they never ask why. He gestures to the object on the anvil. It's beginning to take shape now. You see it becoming something like a scale, a balance. But instead of 2 plates, it holds 2 mirrors. One reflects your face as it is now, tired, scared, dirty from the journey. The other, it shows you as someone else, someone you could have been, more ruthless, more beautiful, more selfish. You realize this is what Hephaestus forges. The consequences. In mythology, Hephaestus was the only god thrown from Olympus, hurled from the heavens by his own mother Hera, because he was born deformed. He hit the sea and was crippled forever. He grew up not in palaces but in caves, not with clouds but fire, not with worship but work. He made weapons, armor, and traps for gods who barely spoke his name. He forged Hera a throne that bound her in place when she sat upon it. He crafted Pandora, the first woman, not to be admired, but as a vessel for punishment. Historians still argue whether he was loyal to the gods or quietly rebelling with every tool he created. Some even say the fires of his forge were used to build both Olympus and Tartarus, depending on who paid him. He lifts the object from the anvil now. It's solid, weighted. He hands it to you. You almost drop it. It's not that it's heavy, it's balanced. But the emotional weight inside it threatens to buckle your knees. You realize he's made you carry your 2 selves, the one you were and the one you could have been. I do not punish, he says. I remind. He steps back into shadow. He's done. And now the forge dims behind him. You clutch the artifact in your hand. It doesn't burn. It settles, like a permanent piece of you. Something earned, not deserved. You turn to leave. The floor beneath you shimmers. Your feet now step on metal, polished and rippling like quicksilver. The way forward lights itself with every step. No fire, no torch, only the residual glow of what you've become. The air shifts again. Cold now, but not cruel. Above, wind whistles down a narrow shaft. Real wind. It smells like night, like snow, like altitude. You're going up now, to the peak. You don't know how far, only that something is waiting, and this time it's watching from above. The walls close in. The space becomes narrow, like the throat of a beast coiled in silence. You feel your breath fog in the air. You see frost forming on the stones. You pass a skeleton chained to the wall. The bones are wrapped in feathers. You pass another. This one has no face, just a mask made of broken wings. You're not just in a mountain anymore. You're in a memory. Something happened here, not long ago, and the wind doesn't howl, it screams. Then the tunnel ends. It opens to a narrow ledge, and you step out onto a platform of frozen stone. You've reached the summit. Below you, nothing. Endless cloud. And above, the sky, clear, black, stars overhead, brilliant and indifferent. And right in front of you, perched on the edge of the cliff, is something massive. You can't quite see it at first. It's hunched, cloaked in dark feathers, the wings folded tightly around it like a shroud. But you feel its eyes, and the moment you take one step forward, they open, silver, unblinking, knowing. This isn't a monster, this is a witness, and you're here to be seen, to be measured, to be told what comes next. The wings rise, and the wind returns, but this time, it speaks your name. The wings unfold with impossible grace. They don't just stretch, they expand, casting shadows so wide and heavy that they seem to rewrite the air itself. With each rise and fall, the wind shifts in cadence, building a rhythm not unlike breath, or a heartbeat, or the beat of a war drum that predates war. You stand frozen on the ledge, your breath crystallizing as it leaves you. The creature before you is no longer just a silhouette. It is real. And it is vast. Feathers blacker than shadow, each edged in silver, talons like blades of carved obsidian, a beak that doesn't curve gently like an eagle's but hooks inward, like a key twisted into a lock that never should have been opened. But it's the eyes that truly hold you, pale, reflective, immense. They don't shine, they absorb, like mirrors that don't show your face, only your intent. This is no ordinary beast. This is the Stymphalian bird, or what it once was. In myth, they were a flock of monstrous birds bred by Ares, the god of war, raised on a diet of human flesh, their feathers sharper than arrows and their beaks thirsting for bone. But here, only one remains. Older now, slower, but not weaker. It is aware. It doesn't react like a beast. It watches like a scholar. It judges like a god. And you realize you aren't here to survive it. You're here to surrender to it. It cocks its head and takes a step towards you. The stone beneath its feet cracks, just slightly. Not from force, from weight, from history. You feel it press into the soles of your feet. This creature has seen centuries pass like seconds, has watched empires rise, burn, and rot. Its wings have beaten through storms, its talons have carried secrets too sharp to speak aloud. And now it sees you, not your armor, not your tools, you. You drop to your knees, not in fear, but in understanding. There are things in this world you do not fight. You yield to them, and hope they find you worthy. The wind gathers around the bird's body, funneling upward into a narrow spiral. It circles you both like a silent cyclone, tugging at your clothes, lifting strands of your hair. The bird opens its beak and does not screech. It sings, a single low note, so deep it isn't sound anymore. It's a vibration, and it sinks into your bones like truth. Images flood your vision, not memories, not dreams, but possibilities. You see yourself walking away from this mountain, stronger, sharper, changed. You see yourself staying, becoming part of the rock, a new story etched into the ledge. You see versions of you who never made it here. You see versions of you who never left. And then you see one that burns, the version of you who lies, who turns back at the last moment, who chooses silence. The bird pauses and leans forward. Its eyes meet yours. It's asking a question without speaking. Which are you? You want to answer, but you don't have words. Instead, you reach into your pocket and pull out the key, the one Hephaestus gave you. You don't even remember choosing to do it. It just happens. The key glints in the moonlight. The bird leans closer. Its beak opens, and you hold the key toward it, like an offering, like a confession. It takes it gently, no pain, just a click, like something unlocking far below the surface of the world. Far below you, the bird closes its beak and bows. Once. A slow, deliberate lowering of its great head, feathers shivering in the wind. Then it steps aside, revealing what lies beyond the ledge. You see stairs, crude, uneven, worn by time. They lead down the mountain, but not back the way you came. This isn't a return. This is a descent into something final. You turn once to look back. The bird is gone, or maybe it never was. All that remains is a single black feather drifting through the air, spiraling downward into the void. You begin to walk. Each step takes effort, not from exhaustion, but from resistance. The mountain doesn't want to let you go. It creaks and shivers, its stone groaning like a living ribcage. And the sky above you, it's changing, clouds thickening, stars blinking out, like curtains being drawn for a final act. As you descend, the temperature drops. Not gradually, sharply, painfully. Your breath forms ice crystals before your lips. Your fingertips go numb. You're in a place between, too high for life, too deep for gods. This is a place for echoes, for things left unsaid. You hear voices again, not yelling, not weeping, but chanting. Low, rhythmic, in a language you've never learned but somehow remember. You step faster now, drawn, and finally the stairs end. The ground flattens. You step into a narrow corridor, hewn directly into the stone. Torches line the walls, unlit yet glowing faintly from within. Not flame, not magic, memory. You brush your hand across the wall. It's carved, with names. Thousands of them, maybe millions. You don't recognize them, but you feel them. Names of those who reached this far and vanished. Not defeated, not destroyed, just claimed by what lies ahead. You continue forward. The tunnel twists and opens. Before you is a circular chamber, silent, empty. At its center, a pool, black, still. So still you wonder if it's water at all. You approach and peer in. Your reflection is clear, too clear. It doesn't blink when you do. It doesn't move when you lean in. Then slowly, it smiles, and you realize this isn't your reflection. It's something wearing your shape, and it's waiting. You don't move at first. The surface of the pool holds you in place, not with force, but with something older, like a memory you've forgotten how to forget. The reflection continues to smile at you, not cruelly, not even mockingly, just knowingly, as if it's been here longer than you, as if it's always been here. The reflection raises its hand, slowly, precisely, but your arm stays still. It's no longer copying you, it's inviting you. You kneel down, just close enough to feel the strange heat radiating off the dark surface, heat that has no warmth, only weight. Like standing too close to a secret, you reach out, unsure why you're doing it, and touch the water. It doesn't ripple, it shatters, not violently, but with perfect silent finality. The surface collapses inward, and before you can even react, your hand is pulled into the pool, followed by your wrist, then your elbow, then your chest. You're falling again, but not down. Inward. The darkness devours you whole. When you wake, you're not wet, not cold, not even bruised. You're standing in a corridor made of mirrors, not glass exactly. These mirrors don't reflect the present, they reflect possibilities. To your left, you see yourself walking away from the mountain entirely, back into a life of comfort, denying what you've seen, what you've changed. You are older, wealthier, but empty. A shell held together by distraction. To your right, another version of you kneels before a crowd, retelling your journey like a prophet. People listen, they follow, they build temples to your words. But slowly, you lose your shape. You become only what they imagine. They're myth, not your truth. You walk past these. They're not yours. Not anymore. The hall branches. You follow instinct. Around every corner, more versions of you appear. In some, you fall. In others, you betray. Some mirrors crack the moment you pass, like they're ashamed to hold your gaze. Others remain intact, but darken as you approach. Then you reach a chamber at the center of it all. Here, the mirrors are gone. Only one object waits for you, a mask. Simple, stone, almost featureless, except for a single line carved across the mouth. You pick it up, it's heavy, but not physically, emotionally, historically. You recognize this, it's your final face. In Greek theater, masks were everything. They weren't disguises, they were identities. In myths, gods and mortals alike wore them, to deceive, to protect, or to become what they could never be on their own. Hades wore the helm of darkness. Dionysus wore the smile of ecstasy to mask madness, and now this one waits for you. You don't put it on. Not yet. Instead, you look around. There is a stone door in the wall. No lock, no keyhole. Only a carving above it. Not a word, a symbol. A circle with a line running through it, horizontal, precise. You've seen it before. Burned into the walls of the labyrinth, woven into Arachne's web, branded on Hephaestus' hammer, even in the eye of the Stymphalian bird. You thought it was coincidence. Now you know better. This is the mark of the thing beneath all things, the thread, the question, the origin. You step toward the door. It doesn't resist. It doesn't open either. It simply vanishes, revealing the final path. This time, there are no tricks, no illusions, only a stone walkway leading downward. The walls glow softly, not with fire or magic, but with memory. Scratched lines, marks, names, tally marks, some sets of 5, some in clusters of dozens. You don't know what they mean. Time, victories, losses. The further you walk, the quieter it gets. Even your own footsteps seem muffled now, like sound doesn't belong here anymore. Then ahead, light, but not golden, not white. Red, a dim, pulsing glow, like breath caught beneath skin. You reach the source, a second chamber, circular, massive. In the center is a throne, but not grand, not ornate. It's carved from bone and basalt, wrapped in layers of faded cloth and broken weapons. Nothing sits on it, at least not yet. You walk closer and feel it, something watching you again, but not from above, not from a corner, from within. You turn, and behind you is your reflection, but it's not the one from the pool. This one is taller, older. Its eyes hold no emotion, only clarity. It steps forward and speaks. You've come far. Its voice is your voice, but smoother, more certain. It doesn't ask permission. It continues. You have met monsters and gods. You have lost pieces of yourself. You have taken on burdens not meant for mortals. You don't argue. You have seen what lies beneath the stories, the thread beneath the myth. It steps beside the throne and gestures toward it. You can sit if you wish. You hesitate. Will it end the journey? The reflection doesn't answer, but it smiles, and for the first time you see it clearly. It's not your enemy. It's not your opposite. It's the version of you that remembers everything. You approach the throne, place your hand on it. It's warm, alive. And before you sit, you do one final thing. You raise the mask, not to hide, not to transform, but to acknowledge. You've earned this shape. You place the mask gently beside the throne, and then slowly you sit, and everything stops. The chamber goes still. No wind, no breath, no time. Only your heartbeat, steady, present, and the reflection, gone, not vanished, not destroyed, merged. You close your eyes, and for a moment, you feel whole. Then the sound returns, not loud, just enough, the scrape of stone beneath stone, the slow rise of gears too large to see. The entire chamber begins to rotate. Not in chaos, not to disorient, but to align. Something is waking, and it's wearing your face. The throne hums beneath you, not violently, not with any force that threatens your balance, but gently, insistently, as if the stone itself is exhaling. The sound builds in slow, precise layers. Deep tones like distant thunder, soft chimes like bells in the marrow of the earth, and a rising frequency that settles behind your eyes like a secret waiting to be understood. You remain seated. You don't grip the armrest. You don't flinch. You simply breathe. And slowly, the throne responds. It tilts forward, just enough to remind you that this is not a place of rest. It's a launch point. The room begins to unfold, not literally, not with cracking walls or shifting floors. Instead, the space seems to stretch, like a canvas being pulled at the edges, revealing more of a painting you hadn't realized was unfinished. You see paths, dozens of them, spiraling outward from the throne chamber, each one a tunnel, a story, a fate. You're being asked to choose. But before you can even lift a foot, the air splits, a voice not yours. Not even a voice, really. It's a presence, wrapped in syllables older than time. You do not leave before you see what you are. It doesn't shout. It states. And with that, the walls vanish. Now you're standing in a massive arena of memories, not just yours, everyone's. Crowds fill the terraces, figures from every point in your journey. The child from the mirror maze, Arachne, silently weaving, Hephaestus, standing beside his forge, the Stymphalian bird, wings folded but alert, even the reflection, you but not you. They're all watching. And at the center of the arena is you. Again, but younger, less scarred, less certain. This version kneels, head bowed, hands bound by golden thread. It doesn't plead. It doesn't move. It simply waits. The presence speaks again. This is who you were. A spotlight forms. It doesn't cast light. It casts memory. Moments flood the space. Some that make your stomach twist. Others that make your heart ache. Times you betrayed someone's trust. Times you stood silent when you should have spoken. Moments of selfishness, of small cruelties, of looking away when something terrible was happening, because it was easier. You flinch, but the crowd does not jeer. They don't even blink. They've all seen this before. Then the image shifts. The younger you vanishes, replaced by a version you've never met. One that walks tall, strong, unapologetic. But something is wrong. This version wears armor so polished it's almost reflective, shining, flawless, too flawless. It gleams with nothing. There's no damage, no dirt, no pain. You realize this is the version of you who never admitted mistakes, never changed, never broke, and so never grew. This is the lie you once told yourself. The crowd doesn't watch this version for long, because now a third you appears. Quiet, still, no armor, no mask. This one carries a wound, but walks anyway. It stumbles once but catches itself, and when it stands, it helps someone else up beside it. You don't know who. Maybe that doesn't matter, because this version looks at the crowd and then at you and smiles, and for the first time you realize this is the version you've been trying to find, the one who forgives, not just others, but yourself. The arena begins to dim. The figures return to shadow. The ground beneath you pulses, and suddenly the throne is behind you again, waiting, inviting. You sit once more, and the walls begin to reform. Not as stone, as thread. Arachne's work, maybe, but different now, wider, more complete. Each line, each silk strand, tells a part of the story, yours. You see the masks you could have worn, the mirrors you refused to shatter, the roads you might have taken, and still, you are here. Historians still argue whether these kinds of trials, if they ever existed, were symbolic or real. Some believe ancient mystery cults used metaphorical labyrinths to test the soul. Others claim dreams like yours were a rite of passage for shamans or oracles or kings. You don't care anymore, because what's happening is real enough. It has shaped you, and it's not over yet. Suddenly, the ceiling opens, not with sound, with silence. The world above unfolds, a sky so clear and dark it feels infinite, and then stars begin to fall. Thousands of them, not in chaos, in order. Each one strikes the ground gently, becoming a torch, a map, a constellation made from your steps. You stand, and now the chamber isn't a prison or a throne room. It's a runway, a corridor, a path that rises into the dark. You begin to climb. The stairs are soft at first, almost like walking on air. But with each step, you feel something pull away from you. First fear, then guilt, then the urge to explain everything. You realize you're being stripped, not of identity, but of excess. You don't feel smaller, you feel clearer. At the top of the stairway is a doorway, just light beyond it. No shape, no sound, but something waits. You take one last breath and step through. It's not heaven, it's not a temple, it's a garden, at night, filled with night-blooming flowers. The air is warm, but not heavy. You feel grass beneath your feet and water flowing somewhere nearby. You are alone, but not lonely, and across the garden someone sits. Not a god, not a reflection, just another traveler. They look up, they smile, and gesture for you to sit. You do. And for once, no one says a word, because there's nothing left to prove, only to be. The garden is soft with silence, not empty, not hollow, just peaceful, like a song with the volume turned all the way down. You sit beside the traveler, not speaking. The air smells of lavender and something older, maybe myrrh, or the faint scent of wet stone after the first rain. A breeze stirs the grass, but the trees don't move. They only watch, their limbs bent in postures of patience. You're not sure how long you sit there. Time feels suspended. And then the traveler speaks. Their voice is gentle, familiar, as if it belongs to someone you once trusted or wanted to. But there's no name, no identity, only presence. You made it further than most. You don't answer. You don't need to, because deep down you know what they mean. You didn't just survive monsters and gods and mirrors and masks. You made it through yourself. The traveler gestures to the center of the garden. There's a pool, circular, shallow, perfectly still. Not black like before, but silver, reflective in the way only truth can be. You can ask it anything, the traveler says, but only once. You nod, approach, kneel beside the pool, and breathe. It's strange. You thought you'd want to ask something monumental. Why do people suffer? What happens after we die? Was this all a dream? But none of those questions feel urgent anymore. So instead you whisper, what do I carry forward? The water shimmers, ripples spiral outward, and then images rise. Not of the journey, not of the monsters, but of small moments. You holding someone's hand in silence when they needed it. You saying no when everything in you wanted to please. You admitting you were wrong. You walking away instead of winning the argument. You choosing peace over pride. None of it feels heroic, and yet it feels true. You carry what you made, the traveler says behind you, and what you remade. You look back, they're gone. Of course they are. Maybe they were never separate from you to begin with. You stand and turn back toward the trees. The garden shifts. A narrow archway forms between two trunks, vines parting like curtains. Light beyond it, not blinding, not divine, just new. A beginning disguised as an ending. You step through. Now you're back in the corridors, but they're different, brighter. The stone is smoother. Your footsteps make no sound. Symbols adorn the walls. Some you recognize from earlier. The line through the circle, the mirrored eyes, the spinning thread. But there are others now too. A cracked crown, an open hand, a flame balanced on a fingertip. You run your fingers over them as you walk, and with each one a memory flickers behind your eyes. Not just from the journey, but from before, moments you'd forgotten. A promise whispered to yourself when you were 7. The sound of a door closing when you were 16. The look in someone's eyes the moment they stopped believing in you. And the quiet power of the moment you believed in yourself anyway. You reach a final chamber. It isn't grand, just a room with 3 walls, open to the sky on one side. It overlooks a field, golden, swaying in the wind. In the center of the room is a small pedestal. And on it, the mask, the same one from before, but now it's changed. It bears not one expression but many, shifting with the light. Sadness, joy, rage, laughter, regret, wonder, compassion. It's all there, all of you. This time you don't hesitate. You pick it up, and instead of wearing it, you crush it. It shatters without resistance, scattering like dust. And what's left behind is a key. Silver, delicate, with teeth that seem to rearrange themselves as you look. There's no lock, but you know what it opens. You. You press it to your chest. There's no pain, only warmth, like a sun rising under your skin. And suddenly, you feel the whole journey settle, not end. Settle. Like a book being closed after the last word is read, not to be forgotten, but to be remembered properly. You walk forward toward the field. The wind brushes your face like a welcome. And then you stop, because ahead you see them. The ones you love, not perfectly rendered, not frozen in time, but alive, moving, becoming. They don't wave, they don't speak, they simply wait. Like the story has always been building to this reunion. Like you were always meant to return, not as you were, but as you are. You take the first step, and the field accepts you. You walk into golden grass, sunlight dancing on your skin, and behind you the world of myth, of shadow and trial and mirror and mask begins to fold back into silence, not erasing itself, only resting, waiting for whoever needs it next, because someone always will. And you keep walking into what comes after the story. You walk with ease now. The wind presses gently at your back, not as a force pushing you forward, but as a quiet reminder that you're no longer climbing, fleeing, or unraveling. For the first time, your steps don't feel like survival. They feel like choice. The golden field gives way to a grove, low, sloping hills covered in moss, with trees that hum faintly when you pass beneath them, not with sound, but with recognition, as though they remember you. Maybe they do. Maybe you've passed this way before in another life, or in some earlier version of yourself you left behind when you first touched the pool. Birdsong begins to return, one note at first, then a slow rising chorus. It's not the eerie call of the Stymphalian bird, nor the distant echo of something ancient stirring in the dark. These are real birds, ordinary, grounded, and yet they sing like they've been waiting for your silence to end. You find a path, a dirt trail barely worn. A signpost sticks out from the ground, crooked and cracked. There's no writing on it, just a single smooth stone hanging from a thread. You run your thumb over it. It hums faintly, the same vibration as the throne. The forge, the loom, the pool, it's all connected. Not by destination, but by intention. You walk on. Eventually, you reach a cottage. Yes, a cottage. No bones hanging from the rafters, no glowing eyes in the windows, just a thatched roof, a crooked chimney, smoke curling lazily into the afternoon air. It smells like bread, and wood, and a little like lavender. You step to the door. It opens before you knock. Inside is a single room, warm, lit by soft firelight, lined with simple things, shelves of books, herbs hanging from the rafters, a kettle steaming quietly on the stove. And in the corner someone sits, not a god, not a monster, just a woman, old, barefoot, knitting. She doesn't look up, but she speaks. Well, she says, threading yarn through calloused fingers, you took your time. You blink. Have we met? She chuckles softly. You've met parts of me, the thread, the test, the teeth. She finally lifts her face, and you see the eyes. They aren't human. They aren't inhuman. They are patient. You're the one who's whole now, she says. That makes you more than most. You step into the room. It's impossibly small and infinitely deep. Where am I? She smiles. You're at the stitch between stories, the scene where endings become beginnings. You're at the quiet. She gestures to a table. On it is a blank book. Next to it, a pen. No ink, no title, no instructions, just invitation. You sit. Run your fingers along the leather cover. It's warm. You don't ask what you're supposed to do. You know. And for the first time in a long time, you write. Not in blood, not in fear. In your own voice. The words come slowly at first, then faster, then effortlessly. Not a recounting, not a myth, but a truth. The truth of who you've been, what you chose, what you left behind, what you are now. You don't need to finish it. You just need to begin. When you look up, she's gone. The chair is empty. The fire burns low. But the kettle whistles softly, and for a strange, perfect moment, you feel normal, like you've stepped into someone else's gentle dream. And maybe you have. You leave the cottage just as the sun begins to lower. Not a sunset, just a shift in light, as though the world is preparing for the next breath. You take the book with you. It feels like a promise, not to remember, but to keep walking, to share. As you pass the edge of the grove, you find another traveler waiting. They look like you once did, unsure, wounded, blinking at the light like it's too new to trust. They ask you nothing. You say nothing, but you hold out the book, and they take it, and the thread continues. You look up, and for the first time in the entire journey, you laugh. Not because something is funny, but because you finally feel light. In the myths of old, they always warned that to see the gods, to pass through the veil, meant never being the same again. They weren't wrong, but they left out the part where you come back better, not cleaner, not holier, just honest, and sometimes that's enough. The last gate appears in the distance. It's simple, wooden, unlocked. You step through and find yourself standing where you began. But everything's different now. Even the way the wind brushes your cheek, even the sound of your own breath. You touch your chest, where the key melted into you. It's still warm, still yours. You walk forward, not into another mystery, not toward another god, but toward light. And this time, you're not just a traveler, you're a guide. You walk through the gate as the wind shifts behind you, carrying the scent of old wood, warm soil, and something softer, like parchment and starlight. The path you return to isn't the same as the one you left. It's narrower, more worn, like it's been waiting for your return for much longer than you were ever gone. But you walk it with ease now. Each step feels familiar, not because you've taken it before, but because you've earned it. The sky is a deeper shade of blue now, not the black of mythic night, not the gold of divine dawn. It's something in between, like the hush before a secret is spoken, like the world is holding its breath. You crest a small hill. Below it, a village, not majestic, not crumbling, just real. Children run between clay houses, smoke curls from chimneys. Somewhere a flute plays a tune that drifts lazily on the breeze. You pause and watch, not with longing, not with envy, just with peace. No one notices you at first. You're not shining anymore. You don't glow with the aftertaste of divinity. You're not cloaked in starlight or trailed by whispers. You're ordinary. And somehow, that feels like a victory. You walk into the town square. Someone greets you. A woman selling figs. A man mending a cartwheel. A child offering you a pebble with a perfectly round hole in the middle. For luck, they say. You smile, take it, and pocket it beside the key. Even though you know now the key was never really meant to open any door but your own. A boy at the edge of the fountain stares at you. You look like you've been somewhere. You nod. I have? Where? You sit beside him and think for a moment. Then you say, a monastery. He frowns. That doesn't sound scary. You smile. It wasn't. It was just honest. That night, you stay in the village. You sleep in a room above a bakery. The scent of fresh dough lingers in the walls. There's a quilt on the bed, hand-stitched, with uneven seams. You trace them with your fingers, like they're sacred. And maybe they are. When you finally sleep, it's deep and dreamless, because there's nothing left to escape from. When you wake, the sky is weeping rain, but it's soft, warm, like the earth is being kissed. You drink tea in the kitchen with the baker. They tell you about their daughter's wedding, about the goat that broke loose last week, about the seasons. You listen. You truly listen. Because for the first time, the present doesn't feel like an interlude. It feels like the point. Later, as you prepare to leave, someone stops you. Not someone important, just someone who saw something in your eyes. "Where are you going?" they ask, and you realize you don't need a destination anymore. "I'll walk," you say, "and I'll see what finds me." They nod. They understand. Because sometimes the path isn't about reaching anything. It's about carrying something forward and leaving pieces of it along the way for others to find. Historians still argue whether myths were born from real places or real people, or whether they simply exist because humans need meaning. Need to believe that beneath the soil and sky, there are truths bigger than tax records and wars. You no longer care where the myth ends and you begin, because you are the myth now. Not because of power, but because you survived something without becoming cruel. And in a world like this, that's rare. You walk beyond the village, down a narrow trail flanked by cypress trees. Their shadows fall long and quiet. And somewhere behind you, the monastery dreams again, waiting for the next person to lose themselves just long enough to find the thread. Maybe they'll take a different path. Maybe they'll ask a different question at the pool. Maybe they'll walk deeper into the mirrors and never return. That's the thing about these stories. They don't repeat. They evolve. At the edge of the trees, you stop, breathe, and exhale. You feel your body, your breath, your name, still yours, still intact. No monsters behind you now. No gods demanding tribute. Only you, and the wind, and the thread beneath your feet. You take one final look over your shoulder. The sky above the old path is clearing. Stars begin to show again. You smile and whisper just once, "Thank you." Wind down begins below. End of script. Sweet dreams. Wind down, approximately 300 words. So now, as the stars soften above your quiet thoughts, and your breath settles like dust in an untouched room, let it all fall away. The monsters, the mirrors, the masks. Let them melt like fog in morning sun. You've walked through the shadows. Not to escape the light, but to remember what it feels like on your skin. You face the dark, not to defeat it, but to carry it more gently. Because there is strength in softness, there is courage in stillness, and there is deep, unshakable magic in simply surviving and still being kind. Let your eyelids grow heavier now. Let the images fade into something formless and warm. You are no longer in a monastery. You're in your room. You're in your bed. And everything you carried tonight, you can set down now, for tomorrow or never again. Feel the sheets beneath you, the hum of the world outside your window, the quiet promise of rest. You've done more than enough. So close your eyes, you're safe, you're whole, you're home. Good night. End of script. Sweet dreams.